Welcome back to London's Pretty Cool Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Patrick Briggs,
And I'm Erin.
and we are very happy to be back after a bit of a break. You know, the world has been changing, and we've been trying to adjust and work with what we have, and try and come out with the next version of ourselves, better and more educated. So we wanted to give you a bit of a message before we started our first episode back. So we wanted to be able to use this platform when we initially started to not only uplift our community, but to educate ourselves and others. But with the recent passing of George Floyd, we at London's Pretty Cool Podcast have tried to educate ourselves on our privilege as white people. With this privilege, we know that we have a platform that we have not always used to best show the diversity and strength of our community through that diversity. We're going to try and be better. And with that being said, the proceeds, made from this episode will be going towards Black Legal Action Center. Erin?
Yes, so if you don't know, the Black Legal Action Center is a nonprofit community legal clinic that provides free legal services for low or no income Black residents of Ontario. There will also be a fundraiser to the left of this video, so if you can, please donate. If you're an audio listener, the link will be down below in the description. So please take some time to look it over and donate if you can. You'll also find many links in our description to resources to learn about the ways to take action and be an ally. There's ones certain to London and Canada focused, as well as ones throughout the world, as well as petitions to sign, including the list of demands for the London Police, and ways to donate even if you don't have extra funds. For example, we have a link for a YouTube video that you can just put on in the background, let the ads go, and all the money will be donated to Black Lives Matter. So even if you don't have any money to donate, that's a very easy way to put some money into it. Thank you for supporting us during our time off. The world has been changing and we've really been trying to change with it. So please use this time to educate yourselves and have those uncomfortable conversations.
Let's have the episode. Hello, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the London's Pretty Cool Podcast. How are you doing, sis?
Doing pretty good, despite the circumstances. What about you?
Doing pretty good as well. You know, we have had quite a tumultuous couple months with everything going on with the pandemic, but it's given us a bit of time to restructure and figure out exactly what we wanted to do for this next season of the podcast. And that's what this episode is all about, giving you guys a great update about everything going on and how we are going to move forward. Pretty exciting stuff, don't you think?
Very exciting. First off, we just want to thank you all for season 1. We completed 1 year of London's Pretty Cool Podcast, 20 episodes with 20 different guests. It was super fun. We can't believe the amount of support that we got from the listeners and people on Instagram. So we can't thank you enough for how much support we got, and we can't wait to see what happens moving forward.
You know, our first year was a big learning experience for me and Erin. We've never done a podcast before, and we took the opportunity to show off the local community and the local music scene and the arts community and just the people that we love within the city. And this next coming season, we're going to be doing so much more of that. But to kind of start with, I think we should kind of go over who we are, really, shouldn't we, Erin?
Yeah, we figured that it's been a year. Maybe you've been listening to us and you've never seen us before around London, have no idea who we are and why we even wanted to start this or why we're doing it in the first place. So we thought might as well do a little intro to season 2 with telling you a little bit about ourselves.
Yeah, Erin, you have been the kind of brainchild of this podcast. You came to me with this incredible idea. Erin and I are brother and sister, if you don't know. And I was fortunate enough that Erin came to me with this brilliant idea to showcase the local music scene, the local arts community, and just some of the great people, again, that we know in the city. Erin, what kind of made you come to this this incredible conclusion that we needed something like this in the city?
Well, I think it stemmed from obviously growing up in London, born and raised here. I definitely had that opinion growing up in high school and whatnot that London sucks and I don't want to be here anymore. So as soon as I could, I booked it out of here. I went to university out in Nova Scotia and I tried to get as far away as possible. But me thinking that nothing ever happened in London, I moved out to a tiny town in the East Coast where actually nothing happened. And seeing all the different events that were going on in London, all these great bands that were showing up, or Patrick like sending videos of all these local bands and cool places he was going to, I got really jealous. And I really just wanted to, when I came back, I experienced it all, and I didn't think that other people should have to go away to realize what is in their own backyards. So we kind of wanted to start this to show what there is and promote it so that people don't miss out on all these great opportunities.
You know, when we had those talks back when Aaron was in university, there was so many times where we would have those conversations of going like, why didn't we know that this was happening before we left the city? You
Yeah.
know, Aaron and I both had an experience of leaving for school, coming back, and realizing that when we go somewhere else that maybe isn't as open to a lot of the incredible things that do happen in this city, you realize how great we do actually have it here when it comes to just think about the festivals alone in the summertime. In our Victoria Park. I went to Oakville when I was in school, and at least in the suburban area that my school was in Sheridan, there was not much to do and not really access to a ton of stuff. So, coming back to London, you get involved. I got really lucky enough to get involved in the London music scene and know a couple people at the Out of Sound House. I randomly met my bandmates in Foam at a mutual friend's birthday party, and years later, I'm now lucky enough to call myself a part of the London music scene and be so excited to promote with Aaron all that we have to offer because there is so much great to offer.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's crazy how many people have either come to us and said that, like, thank you, there is so much, I had no idea that this was going on, or other people just being like, yes, this is what I thought, and no one noticed. But what I think, like, was crazy we found was a lot of the people who are here and really love it aren't necessarily people who grew up here who are like homegrown. There are a lot of people who came to Western for school and realized how cool different things were, or they came to Fanshawe and they're like, I'm not leaving. Like, I can do music here, or I can do my art, and there's different opportunities. So I think that's really cool that other people see it, and we just kind of want to show, especially the Londoners, what there is too. So it's not just going to Toronto all the time and just hoping to leave the city.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people that might not realize what they have here always talking about how, oh, I can't wait to go to Detroit for this show or Toronto for this show, or, it'd be great to move to these cities that have access to these things, but they don't realize that we have so much access to it right here. And that's something that we're actually going to cover a little bit today in the episode. We'll get to it in a little bit, but we're going to talk about some of our favorite local bands and our favorite releases that we actually own and want to promote for you guys a little bit. But we want to talk a little bit more about ourselves, of course, because we are the important ones here, at least in this episode, just in this episode. So, Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? What got you into the London music scene, other than having a brother that was already involved in it yourself?
Well, I don't know. We probably talked about it a bit on the past episodes, but we did go to St. Mary's, the choir school downtown, which I think really kind of helped broaden our visions with what's going on in London, because we grew up in Northridge, North End kids. Never would have kind of seen the downtown scene, except we were kind of thrust into going on the city bus from grade 5 to 8 to and from school and we really experienced everything. And think that, and then going to CCH and meeting all these different cool musicians from all over the city, really coming for the music extension program, it was just really eye-opening. Every Friday night we normally were like doing an open mic night at the London Music Club, raising money for something or doing something. That was just kind of our weekends, was just doing
Mm-hmm.
that. So that was a really big part of, I guess, my life growing up. And a lot of my friends now are big musicians or play in bands. I'm lucky enough to be seeing someone who's the drummer of Ivory Hours, who really helped kind of show different side of the music scene, as Patrick really showed me the punk and grunge and underground kind of stuff. And through him, I kind of saw more pop or folk, different people as well, which was really cool to kind of see all different sides. So yeah, and I just kind of like promoting it because I'm not really a musician myself or play that much. So I like to just kind of be that kind of audience fan member and promote my favorite bands that are normally local bands.
Your favorite local bands are always great local bands,
Yes.
or just great bands in general, I should say. A lot of
And just
times,
good
local
people.
bands are, yeah, absolutely.
But
What I found from hanging out with Erin and her partner, and just like the music scene in general, is that you'll find a lot of different genres supporting each other. It's not just the punk kids hanging out with punk or this or that, or pop with pop. There is a crossover, and people just wanting to support each other. It's a small community, while it is like it's kind of a small town vibe in this sort of bigger city, which is nice.
yes, going off that, Patrick, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role in the Atlanta music scene? You play in a bunch of bands. You used to live at one of the big local venues. Tell us all about getting into that.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I came back from Sheridan. It was a broadcast journalism program, so funny enough that we're here doing this now. But I didn't really pursue much of it, and I really was wanting to do a lot more music. And mutual friend Wally Attard, love that guy, one of the greatest human beings that there is. His birthday party was happening at a local spot, Molly Bloom's, and I met a old tennis friend of mine. He also kind of went to school with me, Nathan Patrick, who ended up being the guitar player and singer of local band Foam, who I ended up joining their band. Him and Evan were there, our drummer as well. They were both mutual friends with Wally, and they were hanging out at this party. They told me about a show happening in like 2 weeks and they didn't have a bassist, and I didn't really play much bass at the time. I played guitar and acoustic guitar and stuff, but I owned a bass and a practice amp, and I said, I play bass, so if you need somebody, I'll play with you, which is not normally the way that you want to get into the music scene. You kind of want to just like get to know people, and eventually, like if you're a musician, you'll work something out. But
It'll click.
it ended up being, yeah, it'll click. So we didn't exchange any information or anything like that. About a week later, I get a message on Facebook from him saying this show's next week. We still need a bassist. Like if you want to do it, please join us. So from there started this, I think, like, gosh, I don't know, 7 8 year run of just doing foam, where we put out a couple different tapes on local releases, like Out of Sound Records, that hosts Whoopso, I Smell Blood, you know um, Lonnie in the Garden, a lot of other great local releases. And then we got to work with Craft Singles. They put out our second release. Foam had lots of releases, and it was a lot of fun. And then eventually, I joined another band called Grievances, which these guys ended up living in the house next to us. A great group of guys. While this house that I was living at ended up being the former Out of Sound House, which was a local venue. We turned it into a venue as well. We kept it alive. We turned it into the Foam Dome, name it after us. We couldn't think of any good names, so we just kept it simple. And we got lucky enough to host a ton of great shows there. Grievances, my neighbor's band, played our house, and they didn't have a bassist. Another chance like that, and I said, guys, if you need somebody, I'll jump in with you. And we ended up releasing a full length album and a split release, and are still a band now, but not as active and everything. But and after that, I've just kind of been releasing my own self stuff here and there. And Foam just put out a new tape, and I've played drums on a Looping, another local band's album, and I played bass in Never Betters for a little while. So I've been all over the place and been lucky enough to be a part of the local scene for a long time. And like Aaron said, I'm just also a big fan. So I'm really, really happy to take this opportunity where I know all these people long enough. And it's one of those things where you go, gosh, if I could just give this person a platform, they would blow up, because they're so good and so
Yeah.
talented. So why don't we just do that ourselves? And I love that. Yeah,
Just
that's me in the music scene.
and you're currently also working on music during this quarantine time because you're played normally with Mall Crimes right now. That's a big band that you have started up, but since being quarantined, you guys haven't been able to work on some new stuff, so you've been doing some solo stuff. What kind of genre? What should we be expecting?
A little bit all over the place, actually. I think Aaron is mentioning something that we're going to be talking about on our Instagram. We're going to be doing a little bit of studio tours with a couple local artists, myself, and we're going to be talking to a couple other local artists to show off their home studios during this quarantine time. But yeah, I luckily enough have gotten a hold of a nicer microphone recently. So, and my partner Jill has allowed me to set up a drum kit in our apartment. It's all padded, but yeah, so I'm kind of making like indie rock here and there, some dance music, really kind of everything. So right now you'll see something. There'll be releases. There'll be lots of releases. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else's releases these days. You know, I've been getting inspired by a lot of people like Jessica O'Neill releasing music where it's just kind of any genre she wants it to be, you know, or uh, Wasted Potential have just announced they're releasing a new EP, which is really awesome in the punk genre. So there's always stuff going on in this scene. So I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of either releases or maybe people planned these releases, but it's only obviously they're just coming out now. But like Jessica O'Neill came up with a whole another kind of EP from music to bite your fingernails and spit them out too. She just made a whole nother music to like stay inside for the whole, I forget what exactly it's called, but it's great. But it's also happy music and some kind of like, oh, make sure to get out and dance and like do the stuff. And it's just, oh, it's great. I love hearing all
Hmm.
these great new music. And I know Lost in Japan is putting out some new music now, and New Friends, a new band on the block, is kind of starting to release a few singles here and there. So it's going to be an exciting summer for releases, even if we might not be able to actually go and see anybody. It still should be supporting and checking out all the new releases and supporting how you can. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, you got to do what you can to support these artists in this tough time. You know, local band Whoopso, they had quite the 2019. They put out one of the best albums of the year with Warrior Down, and they had a massive tour planned for this year. And unfortunately, it's pretty much been cut short completely. And that's just like devastating to hear from this band that has taken so much time to build up to where they're at and have the moment where they're finally hitting that elevator, that rise up to the status that they should be held at, and it's just kind of being like cut short because of all of this with the touring cut off. So if that's when these Bandcamp moments come up where they waive all the fees, or if your favorite band is ever releasing anything, that's why right now more than any time is a good time to be paying that money directly to them, not just on streaming, but buying their music on Bandcamp. You know, if they're gonna have a live show on Zoom and it costs a few dollars, pay those few dollars. This is a time when they need any support they can get.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tough time for everybody. Also, along with musicians, make sure to be supporting local restaurants, businesses. It's a tough time out there for everybody. If you need any information on our Instagram page, we do have some little information about how to order from some local breweries, some local retail, and also some local restaurants. If you want to check those out, just to be able to, if you have the money, obviously, no pressure because it's a very tough time. But if you have something to give, this is the time to really support those local people because it's tough out there for everybody, for sure. So,
I think it's Strombo who's doing it's either Tuesday or Wednesdays. It's like a dine-in night, a local dine-in night. Myself and my partner have been doing that with Stobies. Every Wednesday we've been getting vegan pizza, vegan cheese, you know, stuff. So there's always good deals out there. You know, take help out Rebel Remedy, help out. Any local business that you can during this time, if you have, like Aaron said, if you have the spare dollar, absolutely. Aaron, what have you been doing to stay busy during this quarantine yourself?
well, for the beginning of the quarantine, I was still in school, so that really took up a lot of my time figuring out how to go from in person classes from a full workload to then go everything online for a semester that was quite difficult with like accounting and economics stuff that was it's tough to learn online by yourself, but luckily I got through that. Now I'm doing my co-op, but I'm almost graduated, so that's really great. So that kind of took up a lot of the first part of the quarantine. So I've kind of just been chilling now because I haven't had a lot of time off, but I've
Mm-hmm.
been listening to a lot of music, trying to do some home workouts, get a summer bod going. If
Mm-hmm.
eventually we can go outside, but watching a lot of Netflix and a lot of YouTube. I'm a big YouTube fan. I don't know if that's embarrassing to some people, but I love YouTubers. I love watching it. So that's taking up a lot of my time for sure. And I'm actually starting to read a lot of books, getting some audiobooks from the library, which is really cool. Get audiobooks from the London Public Library. It's free and it's great for on your one walk a day to have something cool to listen to. So that's kind of what
Yeah,
I've been up to.
our parents challenged us to this step challenge, and I think Aaron's been keeping it pretty steady. I think it was like, how many steps can you do every day? And while I have not been maybe like, keeping to it every day as best I can, oh my goodness, when you get home and you can actually check how many steps you do, it's always amazing to hear.
Yeah. It's a good feeling for sure. But
Hmm.
yeah, I've just been watching a lot of like those obvious New Girl, Modern Family. I watched all of those, caught up. We've been
Brooklyn
watching
Nine
The
Nine.
Wire. Yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We've been watching The Wire. I've never watched it, so I'm getting into that. It's kind of slow moving, but I'm getting into it slowly. But yeah, what about yourself?
Other than making music, myself and Jill have been watching like tons and tons of TV on the streaming services. We've gotten a few others recently. We've got Crave now and Amazon Prime. You know what we just watched on Netflix was that Too Hot to Handle, that
Oh
trash
my
kind of
gosh.
reality show. So if anybody who
I
doesn't
got
know,
through
it's
half of
made
it.
it's amazing. Like I'm not a fan of all reality shows. In fact, most times I really don't like watching any of them at all. But I have a soft spot for stuff like I loved Jersey Shore. I watched
Oh
all of
yeah.
it. I
That was a
couldn't
big
get
one
enough
in
of
our
it.
house.
Oh yeah, that I could not get enough of that show. I just because that's really who they are, and they are just
Yeah.
filming that, and that's incredible. Now, Too Hot to Handle is so scripted, but to the point where they're actually in on the joke and making fun of it a little bit, and uh, and it's just kind of the concept of it is hysterical, where it's just all right, we're gonna get all these people in there. It seems like when they walk in, they have no idea actually why they're there. It's
I
just
know
like,
that's the
uh,
craziest part. It's like, oh, we're just coming to hang out. I wonder what's going on. Did you not
yeah,
get briefed at all?
yeah, they just walk into this like fancy building and they go, "Oh wow, we're all so hot. We should like start hooking up. This is crazy, awesome." And then all of a sudden, this AI starts speaking to them, this Lana, and she's going, "Actually, the rules are that you can all win something like $100,000, but the rule is that there's no touching, like no sexual touching of any kind at all. So like no kissing, nothing like that. And anytime anything like that happens, money gets taken out of the overall pot, and everybody's like freaking out at each other because, oh, you hooked up, how dare you, and things like that. And it's just so ridiculous and dumb. That's got to be something that has taken up a bit of a whole day, and that was amazing. But other than that, I started watching Twin Peaks.
Oh,
I had
nice.
never
That's a good one.
I I'd never watched the series before. I'm on the beginning of season two, and that first season, while I've heard how crazy it is, I guess season two is the crazy season because the first season is pretty much like a fun cop procedural, like
Yeah.
almost like an '80s like kind of small town cop procedural. That Agent Cooper is hysterically like his bro love with him and Harry, the chief of police, is just amazing. And I don't know, but that first episode of the second season that I watched, it immediately gets weird, and I went, okay, all right, I'm glad that I watched this and didn't just start randomly in the second season because this is, I don't know, this is really good. So I would suggest Twin Peaks to anybody who hasn't watched that for sure.
Yes. It is quite a good show. I would agree.
You know, it's always fun to watch dumb trash movies. You
Yeah.
know, watch Vin Diesel's The Last Witch Hunter, a good dumb trash movie, or The Second Ghost Rider. Now that is a bad movie. Watched that recently.
Something to just
Um,
get your mind off anything. Just
yeah.
think of nothing and watch something stupid. That's how I get through it.
On your walks, Aaron, what have you been listening to?
I was listening to a lot of podcasts. So I did like Betches. I don't know if people know that Instagram page. They have a few podcasts that I enjoy just because it's current events in the celebrity world, which I find interesting. And then there's the last podcast on the left, which is a few comedians who kind of talk about different cold cases or murder cases, serial killers kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
that's definitely one. There's the podcast with Whitney Cummings, a comedian, and I think
I've seen her. She is just shooting to the top right
yeah,
now.
yeah. So I really enjoy hers because she's just really funny and she has other comedians on. So I've been listening to her a bit. But yeah, just kind of stuff like that.
You know, I haven't been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, but when you say Whitney Cummings, yeah, like she's been on all the late night shows lately. I know, like the promo that I see of her is having Dave Grohl on, which just sounds like a great time, just
Oh
having a big
yeah.
long chat with Dave Grohl. Um, but me, I've been listening to a lot of different stuff lately. Jill and I started watching this show called it's Mike Judge, the creator of King of the Hill. He has a show on Amazon Prime called Mike Judge's Tour Tales from the Tour Bus, I think it is. And it's an animated docu series where the first season will be all country music and rock and roll, and the second season is all funk. And it's like you'd be interviewing the people and they'd be telling the stories, but them and the stories that they're told are like all animated. So you get this really great idea of what was really going on. So the second season all funk. So like Bootsy Collins, Prince, like artists like that, where I don't know, it's just all like really just moving and grooving. And so we've been listening to a lot of funk stuff, and I can't help it but keep going back to that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's just amazing, and it's just this. It's just such a good vibe. That Neil Diamond um, it's like whatever. It's the song in the trailer, and I can't get enough. Yeah, it's just so good. So take a listen to that if anybody feels like. And that's just that movie in general. I'm pretty sure it's on Prime right now, or Netflix, or Crave, or something. So
Once
watch that
Upon a
movie.
Time in
It's
Hollywood.
amazing. Yeah.
I
Have you
think.
seen that yet?
Yeah, we watched it like the first week of quarantine.
Mm.
That was
What'd
one of
you
the
think?
first ones. It was good. It was not what I expected at all, but it was
No,
interesting for
it's
sure.
it's it kind of plays you like you think it's gonna be one type of movie, and it's just kind of like a hangout. You're just hanging out with
Yeah.
these people, you know.
And usually, because like I haven't watched a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies, I can't say that I've been like every time something comes out, I have to see it. But it wasn't as gory until the end than like the other
Mm-hmm.
ones I've seen where it's like, okay, there's blood everywhere. This is just what the movie is. So I was like so prepared for that again. And then it was just like, no, this is pretty chill. Oh, everything's really cool. And then right at the end, it's like, oh my God, they just threw it all right in the end. And this is just insane.
And it was funny though. It was
Yeah,
like for
that's the thing.
comedy. Yeah. It wasn't like gory for gory's sake. It was just kind of like it was hysterical. Like it was
Yeah,
really funny. Yeah.
how easily he took it. Like they're all so drunk and like on different things. And it's just like, oh, you ran into there. Oh, guess you're on fire. Oh, what's going on?
Aaron, what are you most excited for once lockdown is done? We I don't know if we're going to be anywhere near it for a long time, and but what's the thing you're most looking forward to once, let's say, a vaccine is through and we can get back to, I wouldn't say back to normal, because we maybe people don't even want that. We don't
Yeah.
even really want it. We want a new normal. But once we get to that new normal, you know.
Well, what I'm craving currently, what I feel like I'm missing out a lot on, is like, especially because it's nice out, Storm State is really close to my place. And we really like to go walk there and be able to like sit on the patio, have a couple drinks. I love their trivia on Thursday nights. I'm a big fan of that, so I really want to go back, as well as
Mm.
the Highland. I love going to the Highland. I want to go see those movies, do more retro nights and all that stuff. I really want to go back to doing that kind of thing.
What a year to get those Highland
I
memberships,
know.
right? Like, oh my gosh, we're so excited to go to all these movies and then can't go see any of them.
It's like,
Ridiculous.
no, okay. Right down the street. It was the best place. But yeah, those kind of things. Obviously, I like going downtown. I like sitting in the parks.
Hmm.
I really enjoy Sunfest, those kinds of different festivals, home county. So it's kind of sad that nothing's going to happen really with that. But what can you do? Just kind of got to stay positive.
Yeah, staying positive, doing creative things, right?
Exactly. What about you, Patrick? What are you looking forward to?
I guess like yeah, same as I'm sure it's the obvious, but just like I guess concerts and movies, simple thing like that. I mean, I'm not a big festival goer, other than let's say maybe a local festival or something within a city where you're going to different venues and stuff.
Yeah.
I can handle that, but I'm not. Other than the times that we've gone to Warp Tour, I don't need to go to this like big. I'm behind 10,000 people
Yeah.
watching like a band that's like a dot in the distance. That's just not for me. Like unless it's at a stadium show, because that's different.
Yeah.
But when you're standing in a big festival for that long, yeah, I'm not into that. But I mean, just getting back to playing some local shows or small venues or just seeing movies again would be really cool. There's so many good movies coming out that are just kind of that Tenet, that new Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson is becoming my favorite actor right now, and from The Lighthouse, and he's going to be the Batman, and he's now in this Christopher Nolan movie. So I'm just excited for anything that this guy does. And
So you think he's going to be a good Batman?
oh, I have no doubt that he's going to be a good Batman.
Because
Yeah.
that was
So
a
like,
little weird when it first got announced. It was like, oh, Edward
you
Cullen
know,
is going to be Batman.
see, Aaron here is a big Harry Potter fan. So
Well, I was talking about Twilight there, but that's okay.
yes, but I was gonna say the time that you went to go see Twilight, you kept calling out his Harry Potter name, right?
Cedric
Whenever he came
Diggory.
on screen. That's
Yes.
right. So he is remembered as bigger than just that one role, but
Yeah.
because he is Cedric Diggory to so many. That what a sad story of Cedric. But the he's been killing it for the last like decade in all these indie roles, and I've been telling you about The Lighthouse, that
Yeah.
the most recent movie.
I've heard really
It's
good things
amazing.
about it. That it's kind of creepy, but it's really good at the same time.
It's you got to be able to be ready for it. It's
Yeah.
a bit of a creep show, but it is so good and so cool, and you just kind of like you start to watch that Uncut Gems movie, that Adam Sandler one that just came out. That got all the praise. The directors, they worked with Robert Pattinson on their last movie called Good Time, and that movie is incredible and well worth watching. And I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. So that's
Everybody, go watch
also
all those.
also a good like gut wrenching movie. Like, oh my god, it's so tense but so good. And that's where you go, Robert Pattinson. Holy crap, he is a really good actor and can play like a tough kind of, I don't know, like a complex character,
Yeah.
which is so funny. I've liked everybody who plays Batman. I mean, people hate those Batman v Superman, Justice League movies. I'm so excited. Zack Snyder Justice League got announced. That's actually happening. I'm so excited. But Ben Affleck as Batman is fantastic. He is Bruce Wayne, incredible. We've gone on such a strange tangent here, and I
Yeah.
love it. But let's get back to our focus here, Aaron.
All right.
So we want to go over a couple of our favorite. We were talking about earlier our favorite local records. Our favorite. We've got some great collections here. So we're going to talk to you about some of our favorites that we own here. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah,
You want
I
to go
think
first?
sure. We're just gonna show a few because we each have record players because that's what our parents raised us on, and we've been collecting some local groups of records, obviously, and we thought we'd kind of talk about a few of our favorites, maybe that you should check out if you haven't heard of, or just kind of show some support during this time, or just we want to talk about it because they mean something to us, and this episode's about us, so you kind of have to deal with
Boom.
it.
Aaron, who did you choose first?
So the first one that I have here is the Marty Cole's little 45. It is beautiful, bright pink. I love it. It's
Mm.
recorded at Forest City Records, which is a local recording here in London from my friend Richard. So I just really like this record. There's two songs, Play 2 and All I Am. Play 2 I just think is an amazing song. She released this record at Museum London with the video as well. So definitely a song and video you guys should check out.
I love it. Marty Coles has been doing a bunch too. When we were still last summer, I remember they were doing a lot of performances outside with the library and stuff,
Yep.
which was really cool.
Yes, that was very cool. She's also just a really cool person. So definitely something to check out. So what do you got,
Shouts,
Patrick?
shouts, Marty. For my first one, I'm going to be doing a lot of sentimental picks because I have a lot of local records, and I could pick out like I just could just hold up my 7-inch collection, and just be like, that's all locals. But one of my first, I think one of my first local records that I ever got was this guy. This is a Whoopso. This is I'm quite sure their first full length record. They played Record Store Day that year. It's got this incredible screen printed back there. But at that time, I was playing in foam, and I had just gotten to start knowing Adam Sturgeon and the guys in the Out of Sound Collective. And foam was, I think, maybe around that time or just a little bit before that. They were talking about putting our first tape out for us. So I was excited. I remember helping them like load in. I was just like, "Hey guys, oh my gosh, let me help you load in. This is so cool." Like Record Store Day. Look, I know this band that's playing. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, and yeah, it's a really great record, and I love it. And it's Whoopso has been dominating, and it's always good to take a look back at some of the earlier records.
Yes. Very good. Good first choice.
Rated 5 out of 5.
Yes.
Heck yeah, first choice 5 out of 5.
Also, they came on our podcast, so definitely check out that if you want to learn more about them.
Yes, very informative.
The next one that I have probably be a little obvious one, but it is the first. Well, it's the second, but it's the first full length released by Ivory Hours, obviously. But this was one of the local bands that I supported out when I was in Nova Scotia, so it was really cool to be able to kind of go and check them out kind of where I was, that they were touring around. They came to Halifax, so I ventured out of my small town and checked them out. And it kind of started this whole thing, and now here I am. So, yeah, that's my second one that I am showcasing.
Ivory Hours too are a pretty big band here in London on the pop scene. They've played the London Music Hall. They've sold out Rum Runners and stuff. They're quite the band on the lookout for. So definitely, if you haven't taken the time, Thomas, an incredible drummer as well. So definitely take a look out for those sweet beats.
Yes.
For my second choice, I'm going to pick another. I'm going to pick another out of sound band. This is I Smell Blood. This is their debut full length. It's only 5 songs, but it's a full length pressing. So it's got another sweet like inlays on the back. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's got Zahn and Eric's faces in the back, kind of screen pressed in. Very cool. This is a two-piece band, just bass and drums, just distorted bass and drums, and they are loud and fast and awesome. And both of them, Zach and Eric, are incredible at their instruments. So they do not exist as a band anymore. They should, guys. You
Hint,
both
hint.
exist. You could easily do this at any point in time. So get back to it. That's my choice for number 2.
Alrighty. And on to number 3. For the third one, I chose Charlie Weber's Old Habits, his first LP that was released also under Forest City Records. Good friend of the show. He was on for our second ever episode, so if you want to learn more, check that out. It's a great record. I also have the CD, and it's the only CD in my car, so I listen to it a lot. It's great, has a lot of different kinds of songs on it. And it's just fun when your friends are musicians and you can listen to them. So, yeah, that's my third choice.
I would say that's Aaron. You made a great point there. I'd say that's the best part about local music is that you're like, hey, that's somebody I know who made that, and
Yeah.
it's really good, just as good or better than anything I'm listening to on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
For my number three choice, I am going with the debut full length record for Heart Attack Kids. Everybody knows this local two piece at the time, now three piece. Um, Now, this album is significant in my mind because I did not know at that time, like, I wasn't friends with or knew any bands that got signed to any sort of label that wasn't a local record label, which is nothing to that, nothing shaming that, but I had never seen them. You know, they got signed to Underground Operations, which has released quite a few Canadian big records. So getting signed to that was a pretty huge deal in my mind. And as I in Foam, myself and Foam, we actually played their first show at Call the Office. So there you go. And they've also been on our podcast. So another great episode to go back and listen to. Heart Attack Kids now are a three-piece, and they have some incredible music on the way. They're working on their next record, and they might be helping us out with something soon as well. So look out for that.
Very good choice. Heart Attack Kids was always a band. I feel like you showed them to me when I was much younger. I didn't realize it was a local band, so I just thought this was like this big deal kind of group that you showed me. And so then when meeting them on the podcast, it was really weird as like a surreal kind of, oh, I used to like look up to these guys thinking they're a huge deal, and now they're having drinks in my kitchen and they're like my age, if not younger, and it's a really strange kind of difference. So that was funny. Anyways, that's my story. My fourth choice is another episode guest is the lovely Thunder Queens.
Woo,
I had
Thunder Queens!
I had to choose this record. It's also very pretty, but also I just think these girls are so cool. Just being able to go through, release a little LP at their age is absolutely insane. And I think they're just really showing the young girls the way that just play whatever you want, do your thing. People will support you, and I think that's really cool. So keep it up, gals.
Yeah, and there's no age limit on it too. That's something that I've had. My coworkers with kids, they'll say, oh, my son's only 12 years old, or my son's only 11. I don't know if he can learn guitar. And you say, yeah, well, there's this band that I know of 10-year-old girls that have an LP out, so I think they can do it.
Yeah.
I think it's possible for like it's super inspiring for not only other kids, I hope, but for myself and other adults for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For my record number four, I decided to choose one of my own records because I'm selfish. But I have chosen the split record between Grievances and Never Betters. We've called it Never. We did such a ridiculous job of packaging this thing. It does not say either of our band names on it at all. It says we called the album as a joke, and it ended up sticking. We called it Guns N' Roses is Roses, and we ended up just kind of like combining our names together. So our band on this record is just called Never Grieve, and so it just says Never Grieve on both sides. It has yeah, like I said, I was fortunate enough at the time. I was playing in both. Myself and Dan were both playing in Grievances and Never Betters, and I got to play on both sides. It was recorded by Kyle Ashbourne and Simon LaRoche over at the Sugar Shack here in London, and they are incredible people who are making some of the best recorded music in this country. They are Juno nominated and just incredible workers and just incredible people too, and had the best time making that stuff. And it was put out by Grooves Records here in London. Grooves Records. Got to shout out Andy, who made that happen, and Troy, and everybody involved there. Just because how cool! I just cannot believe my young self, even just saying it now, just kind of how crazy it is that a local record store that I would go to all the time, I now and frequent and spend so much money at and just like loved. They not only do I now know some of the staff there and like I'm friends with the staff there, but they have supported my band and actually put out our record and stuff, which is just unbelievable and just incredible. So what you can accomplish, and what is available to yourself within the city and who's willing to help you it's just amazing to see. So that's a very big record for me, and I know it's selfish, but happy to promote that stuff.
Yeah.
And all the people involved in it are amazing. I'm just going to shout out my other bandmates because I'm doing it right now: Davita, Danny, April, Jesse, Brandon, and myself. Never Grieve, the best band. Aaron, who's your number 4 choice? Or
Well,
did we already go to number 4? I think it's your number 5.
yeah, number 5, our final choice that we're going to show. I chose uh, this very lovely group, the Marrieds. Jane and Kevin, they actually, growing up, were our next door neighbors. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a huge part of our kind of music growing up. Pretty sure Kevin taught Patrick guitar for a while. I ended up singing one of their songs in my grade 12 kind of graduation show, whatever we say. I sang Take Me to California. And they've always been really supportive of us musically or in everything we've done. And they've been releasing amazing music. And they're both also music teachers. So they're just continuing on the tradition to showcase some really cool music here in London.
They're great people. They're inspiring as well because they not only teach like generations, all the future generations about music. Kevin teaches guitar and like runs band. Jane is a vocal teacher, and they're both incredible musicians, like Aaron said. And their latest release, the one that Aaron was holding up there, is super heartfelt and sad, and just like very worth a listen. So we love Kevin and Jane. Go support them, absolutely.
Definitely check them out, the Marrieds.
Um,
They're also
for
in two other
my
bands, the Cedar
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sisters from Jane, and also the Dyadics with Kevin and also Jane. So check all 3 of the groups out. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, they are super productive in this city when it comes to making music and producing music. I don't know if anybody remembers that Snowmageddon that happened quite a few years ago, but they had a hit song that they made about the snow, where they were just sitting in their front yard in the snow, and it became like a big song around the country. So they are talented and smart about promoting their stuff as well.
Perfect.
For my last choice, what were you going to say? I'm
No, I was
sorry.
going to say, tell us your final choice there, Patrick.
My final choice is a random record I've decided to choose. It's Chachi on Acid. Now, this is a punk band who, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't listen to the records a ton. It is an incredible color and quality. Now, the story behind this, they are a local London band who have been around for so long, I think multiple decades now, and they were playing a show with my band Foam at the Richmond Tavern, and we got our set done. We were done playing. Then they got up on stage, and as soon as the show started, the singer decided to jump up onto a table and bounce around on it to the point where it looked like it was gonna topple over with him on it, but somehow he stayed afloat, jumps off it, and there's this a row of people sitting on a table and kind of the front. There's not a ton of standing room, there's a lot of seating and everything, and he decides to dive headfirst onto that table, onto a row of beer, and just pour it all over all of the people sitting there in the front row. And they all get up going, what the hell? They're getting out of there. And he just like still just getting up, going crazy, topples a table, throws a chair, and from there it's just one of the most nuts punk shows I've ever seen in my life. I think like yeah, anyways, at the end of it, he and the bandmates came up to us and we were just saying, that was crazy, that was such a good show, and they just handed us handfuls of records. They gave us each a full length and a handful of 7 inches, and they were just like, here you go. Like I don't even know if they had much to say. They were just like, hey, just take them, you know, good gig kind of thing. But they were just crazy dudes who put on one hell of a show, something I'll never forget. So I just want to shout out Chachi on Acid.
Very cool. Somewhat, maybe not a lot of people know about them. So good one to shout
Mm-hmm.
out for sure.
Um,
All right. So that brings us to the end of that
mm-hmm.
segment. So one other thing, well, we have a few more things to kind of go over, but what would you say, Patrick? Since we finished season 1, we didn't really have a celebration. We were planning to, and then the apocalypse hit. So what would you say was one of your favorite moments or episodes from
Season
season
one
1?
had a lot of great moments for sure. The immediate highlight that comes to is actually our first episode with John Zarola, otherwise known as Unbloom. Um, we didn't really know what we were doing. We just sat down in your kitchen and just decided to start talking to an old buddy of ours who makes great music, and John was just so giving with his answers. We did a test episode initially that never came out, where Aaron and I had interviewed someone, and it didn't quite work out the way that we had hoped, and it didn't quite come off as naturally. And when we speaking to John, he just gave so much with his answers, and he was so willing to tell us like everything that we wanted to know, almost more than we needed to know. And I love, yeah,
He was very real, and
yeah,
it
like
just
being really
it was
honest
great.
about how his music structure of his business works, and uh, how everything how he makes his music and the programs, everything. He really spelled everything out to people so that they could understand exactly how he makes it all work. And I love that about him, and he's so giving about that. So he still makes music, not as much I think as he used to, but John Zarola, Unbloom. If you're listening, we love you, buddy, and go support that man. Aaron, what about yourself? What's a highlight for yourself?
For me, thinking back, it definitely would have to be talking with the pairs. I just really felt like we went to elementary school with them, high school. Patrick knows them pretty well, but just being able to kind of go back and talk about those St. Mary's little things that I don't think a lot of people would get unless you went to St. Mary's, just about how ridiculous some of the things that we kind of had to do because of the location or because of this and that. So just talking to them and kind of having those memories together was just a fun kind of time to be like, oh yes, okay, it's not just me when I think back to that. That's thinks about running through the Beef Baron parking lot to train for cross country. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
that memory and they do too, and it was just fun to kind of talk about that and have those kind of things in common growing up. So that was really fun for
And
me
they're
to talk
really
about.
great people. So fun to talk to. Absolutely,
Yeah.
Well, I think those are some great highlights. Myself, I also just
Yeah.
love that we've gotten the opportunity to talk to such a varied group of people, and through this podcast, more than anything, like I've learned a lot. Um, we got to talk to Beer
Yeah, for
Lab,
sure.
and just hearing about the amount of work that they put into making different beer every week, and crafting something original so that whenever you walk in there, it's a new experience, and something that you're not going to find anywhere else. Learning that kind of stuff is amazing, and just how they brew that together in such a small space, so cool.
And just how the community supported them so much with like starting
Mm-hmm.
with like Milos and being able to open their own place. It was just so cool to kind of hear about how the whole kind of craft brew community in London is so supportive and helpful with them to be able to open up their own location and have their own kind
Yeah,
of
you don't
brewery.
hear in many businesses where if you've run out of a product, you can ask your competitor if they have spare, and they'll get it to you.
Yeah.
You don't hear that often, and that is something that happens, it seems, in the London brewery industry, which is really cool.
Yes, for sure. And just kind of feeding off that, obviously season 1 we had a lot of fun. We definitely would say, I would say we kind of talked to more people that we knew personally just because that was the easier way to kind of get episodes out. But we're have a lot in store for season 2, and we would like to kind of give you a little update so you guys
Mm-hmm.
know what to expect during this next season, because there's going to be some new stuff, more stuff. We're trying it out, and we're hoping we're improving. Please let us know. Comments are open. What should we do? What should we improve on?
What do you
What
want
do you
from
want?
us? I'm very thankful that we've been able to do this for a year already, and been able to put out 20 episodes. And this, while the pandemic has been tough, like I said earlier, it's given us an opportunity to take some time and figure out exactly how we want to do this going forward. So, like Aaron says, we are very excited about this second season that we have coming up. We're going to be talking to some new people as well. We might be bringing back some past guests with some updates about some really cool stuff they have going on. Aaron, what else do we have happening?
We're, as you can see, we're starting on a new format with video. We are starting to record ourselves. We're going to be recording our guests so you can actually see what's going on. So if you are a YouTube person like me, you're definitely able to watch it online. We'll also be clipping some of these things to be able to put on our Instagram in case you can't sit down for an entire hour and listen to it and you just kind of want to hear little parts of it. We'll have clips available so you can hear little highlights. And just, we're going to talk to more people, maybe not just in the music scene, more in industries or business owners, etc. So if you have any suggestions on who you think we should be speaking to, we have a few ideas already for our next 4 or 5 episodes, but we're hoping to have lots of different kinds of people so you can really learn
Yeah,
about London.
there's a lot of a lot of really great stuff happening in the city, like we keep saying, and during this time, like we said as well, we want to support them in all industries, not just musicians, but local food businesses and just really anything local that needs help right now, because not even just now, but anytime. We love supporting local. We wanna keep building things up. So we're going to be doing a couple things on Instagram with some guests to help promote themselves as well. So we're going to be doing a couple Instagram takeovers, which is going to be pretty fun. Where we're going to have some of our upcoming and past guests take over our Instagram for the day and let them show every one of our followers everything that they have going on. We have some incredible local studios that people use right in their house, like Jessica O'Neill might be giving us a tour. Lots of great stuff happening here, and we're just really excited to be doing more and showing it off to you.
So yes, be sure to, if you don't yet, follow us on Instagram. That's where a majority of our dates are posted, usually stories, posts, etc. Don't be shy to send us a DM if you have any comments or have ideas about who you want to see or who you want us to talk to. Yep, definitely be sure to check it out at LPC Podcast on Instagram, also on
Yeah.
Facebook. And
And you're
also,
obviously
yeah,
streaming this or watching this somewhere, but we can be streamed and watched anywhere. So follow, subscribe, get into it.
season 2 is going to be really cool. So be sure to be subscribed on all your platforms that you're listening to podcasts. Subscribe everywhere.
Uh,
Do it all. It helps us just so we know what we're doing wrong.
And like we were saying before, we just want to thank you guys again for all the support for this past year. We are super excited for this coming season, and we are just looking forward to everything in the future. So thanks for sticking with us, and we'll see you soon.